Welcome to the APTA's 5th Grand Prix Tour event, the Short Hills Invitational, presented by Maple Crest and supported by APTA national sponsors Viking and Uline. We are live on the APTA network, presented by eNet Live. I'm Jerry Viant, along with Brad Easterbrook, and Scott Kaler is joining us for the first set of this match. We're about to see the men's final between the number 1 and 2 seeds. Number 2 seeds being Drew Broderick and Graham McNerney, playing in their first Grand Prix tournament together, and they're facing the number 1 seeds Juan Arraya and Mark Parsons. And Brad, the crowd has been building all day in anticipation of this final match, and why don't you point out the players to us and where they're from?
Sure, absolutely. Drew Broderick is the director of racket sports at the Canoeber Country Club and a local guy here in New Jersey where he works, and he's a 4-time APTA national champion. His partner Graham McNerney is a consultant for an accounting firm and a winner of many tournaments on the circuit this year. And they're playing against Juan Arraya, who's director of racket sports at the Greenwich Country Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, and his partner Mark Parsons, 3-time APTA national champion, and is a director of racket sport at the Siwanac Club in Bronxville, New York. So our players on the court, why don't we take a look at how our players got there. So we see our draw here. We haven't quite filled in the top yet, but I assure you that Broderick and McNerney won against their Doya Monod in a 3-set battle.
And let's just talk about that. That was a 3-set semifinal, and you can see Arraya Parsons went through 2 and 2, so that might be a little bit of a factor here. This is their 4th match tonight that they're playing, but they came through.
I don't necessarily see fitness as a factor. I think Drew's one of the fittest guys on the tour. McNerney also pretty fit. I mean, Scott, do you feel like fitness would be a factor in this one?
I would say in this particular matchup, not a huge factor. We've certainly played a lot of long, tough points out here today. My quarterfinal match with Drew and Graham, the first set was over an hour. But I would say that, all 4 of these guys are in tremendous shape. They take their time off court. They really play hard or train hard, and I think there's a good chance that fitness won't be a big deal.
Yeah. We'll listen to the ump here.
And in the ed court from Western Connecticut, Mark Parsons.
That's our umpire, Scott Rosenbaum. It's up there. I think he's got an electric blanket.
From Bayonne, New Jersey, Drew Broderick. And his partner in the ed court from Chicago, Illinois, Graham McNerney.
All right, so why don't we take a look at the Viking keys to winning.
All right, for Broderick and McNerney, we were just talking about this on air, Scott. So you had mentioned work on Arraya's mental game. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think, Juan is one of the best front runners in the game when things are going well and points are flowing in his direction. There's probably nobody better at playing fast, at playing aggressive. But sometimes when his opponents are countering that really well, he doesn't always respond to it in the best way. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens, and I think Drew's one of the best at creating those counter opportunities.
So they need to find their backcourt offense, which means that, McNerney and Broderick, their biggest weapons are from high to low. If you let the ball stay low in the contact zone, they don't hurt you that bad. Arraya likes to slam the ball down sometimes. He gets carried away with it. We'll see if he does too much of it, he'll get hurt. And Broderick and McNerney are a new part. It's the first tournament they've played together, so they're going to have to manage that. The ball's in the middle, the lefty-righty situations. They're both experienced players, but we'll see how they handle it. And we'll take a look for Arraya and Parsons. And for them, they're going to keep the ball out of the strike zone, which is what we were talking about before. They cannot afford to keep giving McNerney and Broderick their offensive opportunities. They need to manage their transition game. That means that McNerney and Broderick are 2 of the players who can actually keep up with Arraya in a volley-to-volley exchange. So they can't just willy-nilly attack. They're going to have to really choose opportunities that are advantageous to them. And they need to be willing to adapt. Sometimes you've seen Arraya and Parsons just try to hit their way through a match, but it may not work out that way for them.
Yeah, I think they definitely have. Drew's probably one of the best, probably the best player in the country at slowing the pace down and getting the match to be played on his tempo. And what Drew's tempo is the best is probably the perfect counter to what Juan and Mark want to do as their best. So depending how, especially early on in the match, things are going, if it's not tight, if it starts to go one-sided one way, how does the other team adapt to what's happening?
All right, so Arraya and Parsons have won the toss and elected to receive.
Guys ready?
And we go Drew Broderick to play. Start off serving. Some players moving in the background. Arraya calling for a little time.
I think they were still talking.
First ball fault from Broderick to start the match.
Give it up, give it up.
Love 30.
That's an example right there of not allowing Juan to play transition paddle. He hit the drive through, and Drew just went back and kind of casually lobbed it up, and
40.
they ended up losing the point, but they didn't let it happen in just 1 or 2 points. They kind of reset into a neutral position.
$15, 40.
See, these are the kind of
30,
points that we saw in
40.
Boston, where Arraya Parsons had some break opportunities and didn't capitalize, and all of a sudden they just kind of let them slide. And
I think it's actually even slightly deeper than didn't capitalize. It's almost as if they gave them away a little bit.
and it's a little thing, but at the end of the day,
See, there you go with McNerney. He is very capable at the net. Extremely good volleyer.
I think Graham's one of the best players in the country at anticipating the type of drive that's coming. I've played a couple tournaments with Graham again this year. I've played a couple matches against him, and there's plenty of times where when I played against him that I think I've got a grade A look. I hit it just where I want to, and then he hits a drop volley winner.
Yeah, and all
I'm
of a sudden
thinking,
he's there before you hit it, as if he knew you were going to hit it there.
Exactly. It's almost like they're manipulating you into that situation, and it'll be interesting to see if they're able to do that against Juan and Mark today, who both have so much offense in different places they can hit it from.
Here you see the one up, one back from Arraya and Parsons. Oh, great backhand drive. But see, there is what we were talking about in the keys to winning, about managing the transition game. Arraya does that all the time against players, right and left. He just sort of moves forward and hits it at him and comes in. But there, you know, McNerney and Broderick can hit it behind them, and he did there.
Advantage, Parsons.
See, there you see in the early going, Parsons and Arraya going with soft, deep overheads to the middle, not giving them the hard balls into the screens that they can tee off on. Oh, that's a great rip on the high ball. You'll see the offense out of the high part of the court from McNerney and Broderick.
McNerney, short.
I like
really,
the
they're really
qualifier.
short.
No, it's
Watch
not
out.
just short. It's really short.
So McNerney doesn't normally play the deuce side, right, Scott?
Certainly this year he's played more ad. Over the years I've played against him on both sides. He's certainly a very capable player on both the deuce and the ad side, but especially this year as he's kind of taken that leap into the upper echelon of the sport, he's done most of his damage and good results from the ad side. So it'll be interesting how he plays from the deuce, especially against someone like Juan, whose spin can really kind of twist the deuce player around. He can do the spin both ways, but the spin reacts differently based on if you're on the deuce side or the ad side. There's an example of it right there.
There's a great shot.
That deep slash to the deuce is one of the toughest shots in paddle to handle when Juan hits it deep like that.
So there's our first break. So Arraya Parsons taking care of that lead there, not giving up those break points. It's going to be interesting, and I think also, Drew Broderick likes to hit some of those lowish lobs, and you saw right there, I think he's going to have to be careful that Arraya is really going to cut the ball and go into McNerney's corner.
Yeah, I think if Drew's going to look to hit those types of lobs, they probably need to be more at Mark, who has a tendency to look for waterfalls or rollers, which the lower lobs aren't going to be as tough to handle, whereas if it's low to Juan, that slash or that spin dropper, either one can be extremely difficult.
Like we just saw there again.
So Scott, having played all these players and with a bunch of these players, how do you see this match?
Well, it's certainly a match that could go either way. You got four of the best players in the country out there. You've got all sorts of different strengths and weaknesses on both sides of the court. But I think the way the seeds were is Juan and Mark were the number one seeds. But if there was a betting line on it, it would probably be pretty close to 50-50, I would think.
Yep.
Especially with the new partnership of Graham and Drew, and it's not so much, some partnerships you think might flow very easily, some easier than others. Graham and Drew both like to spin their overheads, and sometimes that can almost be a detriment when both players like to spin their overheads, because usually those are the person hitting more of the overheads, moving into position to hit it. So not only do you have the righty-lefty factor, but you also have both players looking to spin them, spin the overheads quite frequently.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot of good teams have a role player and a player who does something else, or they have skill sets that match up, not the same skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting when the spin overheads came into vogue, you would see Uline and Dave Keevans winning with both of them just spinning, spin that no one had seen before at the time. But the teams these days, because the spin is so much more prevalent, have one guy who spins the ball more and the other guy who plays more of a role with it.
So interesting, they're going after Arraya and that deuce side.
Well, it could be they're working on the mental game, as we talked about. The more opportunities and the longer the point goes, as Scott was saying before, he could be one of the greatest front runners, Arraya, but if you hit him more and more balls, it's almost as if sometimes he takes control, but sometimes he makes more and more mistakes.
40-30.
I think, too, we have to remember how cold it is out there. And when it's cold, the ball tends to stay lower. Juan's offense is great from chest to shoulder level. When it's lower balls to him, he's not able to create quite as much opportunities from the baseline, so that could be part of Drew and Broderick and McNerney's strategy as well.
And what about Parsons? So McNerney, Broderick, Arraya all like that higher bouncing ball.
They lead 2 games to
I think Parsons' strike zones, his offense is definitely more potent off the deck, a little bit lower, kind of that waist high ball. He's maybe has the greatest backhand the sport has ever seen. His ability to hit that off the deck from a bunch of different locations is very unique and tough to deal with. So they might just be thinking, as far as their overheads, that balls to Parsons backhands are a no-go zone, although one just went there right now.
Oh, nice call there from Arraya. He reaches out and
15,
touches the ball, and he makes the honor call on himself.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you'll see. You know, all the top guys, we all have a lot of respect for each other. We compete really hard, but I think there's a ton of respect amongst all the players out there. And at the end of the day, we all want to make the right calls. We all want the fair play to win out.
Well, it's much different here in the booth, Scott. I just want to warn you. There's no respect in here, and fair play doesn't even count. So just
You
be
make an
aware.
error.
Just be aware.
I'm learning as I go.
He's in the ready position now.
Yeah, he should be ready. Great drop volley there from
30 all.
McNerney. Good hands.
I think that was one of those situations that we were alluding to earlier where Graham anticipates a drive that against almost everybody else in the country would be an offensive situation for the baseline team. And on that ball, McNerney was able to hit a drop volley winner on what should have been a chance for the baseline team to win the point.
But isn't that so much of what it is out here? These players who are at the top are at the top for a reason. And then you have to make the adjustments based on what they can do that's different or better than the other players.
There's another break point opportunity here for Arraya Parsons.
That's a really good start for them. Wow.
Made that shot. Routine. Beautiful.
He made that look
I don't
significantly
know if
easier
it was
than
routine.
it was.
I don't know if it was routine. He put it right on the line.
So smooth.
That's another break point.
Advantage.
It's a great start here for Arraya Parsons, though.
See that roll?
Yeah.
The one-handed Federer-like paddle backhand.
From Arraya.
Yeah, I think he's got the best one-hander in the game, bar none. That's a beautiful controlled lob from Arraya. Oh.
Nice volley by McNerney there. Stuffed it right deep back to Arraya. Deuce.
Oh, nice digs. Wow.
Yeah.
That'll work.
We're going to have a replay of that.
Advantage, Broderick.
The crowd with a few oohs and ahs there. An incredible cut sequence from Broderick.
All right, that was a big hold there.
It was a big
Right.
hold. You got to get that
Yeah.
foothold in the match, Jerry.
And just before the players start back, you can see in the red jacket in the back there, a shout out to Shannon Vincent, who is our APTA Grand Prix Tour Director, and she has done a monster job this weekend coordinating all the moving players and pieces that go into running a tournament of this size. I think it was 450 players were competing in all different draws this weekend, and she keeps everybody moving and knowing where to go.
She really does a great job. She's such an asset for the players, always asking us, do we need anything? What can we do to help? What can we provide you with? And I know I can speak for all the players when we really appreciate her efforts in helping these Grand Prix events go as smoothly as they do.
Yes, a tremendous
Surrounding
amount
that
of
post.
work.
Yep. Oh, great touch drive down the line. Easily played by Broderick. All right, so we'll see if we have a replay of some of that fantastic action at the end of the game. Tricky blitz there. That's where Arraya gets too creative a little bit. Tries to make too good a shot. He had him looking for the drive a little bit, but he flips it wide. Could not get his grip around in time. It's a ball he wouldn't normally miss, but it happened in such a fast sequence.
It's Mark Parsons serving, 30-15. Up 2-1 in the first set with the finals of the Short Hills Invitational.
40-15.
Yeah, McNerney just looking up. Had the missed roller and then a missed easy volley.
You see this nice crowd of all the members here and players from the Short Hills Club.
And it should be said there's probably 200 people inside on a giant screen TV in an incredible cocktail party. Also watching the matches, socializing, doing the works. See, there's the high bad ball to Broderick.
And that was a perfect placement.
And you know, when Drew hits that one, he doesn't hit it like a typical tomahawk, like super hard and flat. He hits it with actually a little bit of cut, and since it's left-handed, it's, you know, the ball's spinning backwards from most spin shots, so you have to almost outthink yourself twice in terms of how your paddle is going to counter that as it's coming onto you, all in about a second and a half, if not less.
Seen Broderick miss a few lobs today, trying to get these low lobs going.
Oh, here's the replay. Excuse me, Brad.
Nope.
So take a look at this.
There it is.
Right under the bottom of the ball.
That's a shot that you almost have no chance of running down when it's executed perfectly. He hits such a thin sliver of the ball that when he hits it the way he's intending to, the point's over.
And he's set up the same way, so if you take off too soon, he's just going to slide it right behind you.
He actually got me on that a couple times today, where one of either my partner or I hit a short lob, and you know you're in trouble for that second, and it's almost like he waits to see what you do first, and then he decides what he's going to do as far as the hard deep slash or the spin dropper.
But Scott, as a teaching professional and a top player, it's so important, that preparation, right?
Absolutely. As soon as the lob goes up, get your body turned, get your paddle back. Whatever overhead you're intending to hit, you should basically be hitting from the same starting point, and there's no reason not to have your paddle and ready to hit whatever shot it is you're going to try to execute.
And that's what makes it look so effortless for these guys, is that preparation.
Oh, there's Arraya trying to move his way around the ball to hit a cut winner, but can't quite get there. You know, here's the problem with some of these shots. Not the problem, but if he makes it, we say it's a great shot. And when he misses it, we go, that was a bad choice. You know, when you're playing these high-risk, high-reward shots, every time you miss it, it's a bad choice, and every time you make it, it's just a great shot. So it's one of these things that's very hard for the players to gauge who hit these kind of shots repeatedly. You know, we find that the players who hit the most of these offensive putaways and this and that, they also tend to make more bad choices, or what we call bad choices.
I think one of the best ways to think about whether it was a decision error versus an execution error was to look at the player's balance. If when they're trying to hit the shot, they're on balance and they just miss it, it was probably the right ball. They just happened to miss it in the moment. If they're still moving as they're trying, like sliding to their left as they're trying to hit a cut, or moving on their back foot as they're trying to hit an aggressive drive, that's probably more of a decision error. And I think that's one thing that club players can translate to their own game. You know, you might not be executing the shot at the level of a Mark Parsons or a Juan Arraya, but when you hit your shots that you're trying to, are you on balance and committed to the swing you're trying to make? And that's something that can be very, a big factor in whether you win or lose points.
Scott, that's an amazingly good point and very well said. And when Arraya was hitting that cut, he was clearly moving way out of the way and off, so you'd say it was a wrong choice.
Absolutely, yeah. That one he missed on the previous point, his body weight was falling to the left as he tried to spin it.
Great hold there.
Broderick, McNerney.
So I think this next game is big in terms of we had started to have a little momentum change with Arraya Parsons going up to that 2-love lead, and then now with Broderick McNerney, kind of turning the tide a little bit. How will Arraya Parsons respond, both in terms of their mental energy, but also in terms of their game plan? Is there something they need to adjust?
All right, well, we want to thank Stephen Giordano and Maple Crest Ford Lincoln of Union for its sponsorship of today's tournament. Family owned and operated for more than 55 years and proudly serving the needs of our community's Ford and Lincoln owners. Their award-winning sales and service staff is the perfect mix of friendliness and professionalism. So visit Maple Crest Ford Lincoln of Union today for all your automotive needs.
There's that tomahawk overhead from Broderick.
And you notice Parsons missed the volley wide there. So from
spin.
That's the lefty spin of Broderick, that when it hits Parsons' paddle, it wants to go off to from Parsons' perspective, to the right.
Oh, great shot by McNerney. Well, Arraya took a risk. He assumed that McNerney was hitting that down the line, and when he cut across the court, Parsons wasn't ready. Right on the line. Wow. Great hands for McNerney.
Yeah, you just feel the level of play rise by McNerney these last couple of games. It's creative shot making there.
Well, that was a tough shot from Arraya. I think he was almost mad that McNerney got those other balls back, so he was going to finish it right then and there.
Game. Broderick.
A little blip on the radar.
First set.
All right, so 3-all. Prior to that game, I would have said the action's favoring Arraya Parsons. But there you see, almost as if, McNerney and Broderick have gotten in their heads a little.
Love 15.
I see very little indecision for a team that doesn't normally play together, like seamless switches.
Well, Graham's played with so many different partners. I have to imagine at this point he's used to morphing into the situation.
I think both McNerney and Broderick are two of the smartest players out there. That they know the game well. They know overall what's the right way to play. So I'm sure they talked before the match about what they want to do, what formations they want to be in, what patterns they want to try to develop. So even though it is a new partnership and there's definitely some in the moment decisions they'll have to work out, I think on a bigger level, I'm sure they both feel very comfortable on the court together. And when I played them earlier today, there weren't any middle ball issues or spots where one of the guys looking at the other like, what the heck happened there. They're kind of on the same page as far as playing good, solid paddle overall and knowing what each other's strengths are to try to capitalize upon.
sort of like saying, oh, Roger Federer doesn't play a lot of doubles. Well, he only doesn't play a lot of doubles because he's too busy winning all the singles tournaments. But if he played, he'd be, great, probably with many partners. Wow, right on the line. That's a mistake.
Got out of trouble.
Oh.
So there was a little bit of a change of pace, like a little different overhead. So Broderick kind of went up a little early and then, right?
Oh, absolutely. I just think he wasn't there either. To be honest, he was a little greedy on that one.
Yeah, he was definitely caught a little deeper in the court than he normally is when he looks for that kind of high spike / forehand type of ball.
Wow.
He wasn't moving forward there.
Yeah, back and away. I'd say that's some great action.
I mean, every point is a mental grind here.
I agree with you, but in one level, the whole mental grind to me is when every ball's the same. This has different shots. So it keeps you almost on your toes, almost keeps you more alert mentally. Where I find the grind is when somebody's hit you mind-numbingly like 100 of the same shots, that's where you lose your patience and your discipline.
So
here the action moves.
Just for those last 2 points was Broderick missing.
Yeah. Surprise.
Scott, just while they're changing ends, tell us about the Nationals. You're hosting?
Yeah, we at the Fox Chapel Racket Club in Pittsburgh. We're really excited to be hosting Nationals this year, March 7th through the 10th. We've got a great committee working on the preparations for it. We've got great membership at the club, a great staff at the club ready to put on a big show, and I think all of the Pittsburgh paddle community is excited to host the best players in the country next month.
We're looking forward to coming back, and we'll be live streaming starting on the Thursday night, the Men's President's Cup final, and then all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Pittsburgh, here we come.
Yeah, it's a for our sport, it's the biggest weekend of the year. I always say it's my favorite weekend of the year. A little different tune to it this year, being in charge of running the tournament as well as playing. But we're really excited to host it at Fox Chapel, and I think it'll be a great event.
It's taking multitasking to a whole nother level, and we're going to get him in the booth as well.
Yeah, it can't be easy to do all that. For
See how many things we can throw at you that weekend.
Well, if I remember correctly, last time in Nationals when Pittsburgh, you had food trucks, and they were great.
Yep, we've got food trucks planned again on Sunday morning for the men's semis, women's finals, and men's final. We'll have a big barbecue Saturday night during the women's semis and men's quarters, so it should be a great weekend of the best paddle in the country.
Oh, there you go, Arraya. Yeah, I think Arraya called it out because he wasn't sure, but it was clearly in, right on the line.
Mark Parsons serving. 3-4, 15-0, first set, men's final, the Short Hills Invitational.
So there you saw McNerney be very disciplined about not coming in behind his return against the Parsons forehand or transition ball. Nice shot.
Right at his right hip.
15.
Oh, so we had a question coming in about Graham McNerney and possibility of foot faulting. The actual rule is you can't land in the court before you hit the ball, and McNerney's entire body is inside the court. But from my perspective, he hits it and then lands almost a split second after it. So you've played him with him many times. Do you think he has a foot fault?
No, it's not a foot fault. He's definitely across the line, but he's still in the air. His foot doesn't make contact until the moment after his paddle contacts the ball, and that's what makes it a legal serve. Can be a tough call to make.
Well, it is really close. His contact and his foot coming down are within a microsecond of each other.
Especially on the deuce side is where it's a little more
pronounced
of an issue for sure. But I'm 99.9% sure that he's legal.
Wow. Oh, between
between his legs.
That's the only way he could have played it. Oh, what a great lob from Broderick. Oh! Cutter. Tweener. Oh! What a point! There's about 5 highlight reel shots in there, Jerry.
Wow.
Arraya, Parsons, they lead 5-3.
All right, Drew Broderick serving 3-5.
That was big. I felt like Broderick and McNerney were about to get some momentum there, but a couple of really fun, exciting points.
Arraya Parsons are playing at a really high level right now.
Oh, Broderick with a fault and a missed volley. But people say that and go, oh, what a miss. But it's actually a harder shot to make than people think. You're moving forward, even though the ball's high.
Especially when it's someone as good as Arraya on the other side. You know if you miss your target by even just an inch or two, leave the ball just the tiniest bit high, he's going to re-stuff a volley right back into you. So even though it's, like you said, Brad, an easy shot, you're trying to hit a very small target.
You help.
That's a tough ball, great dig. Incredible get from Arraya.
And you saw McNerney just close the net.
Yeah, he was assuming it was from that position was going to be a bad lob, but it was perfect. And I don't actually disagree with McNerney's decision. I mean, you look for the drop volley winner there. Oh.
I tell you, Arraya is really playing a very deliberate, controlled, focused match right now.
Yeah, I would say he's hitting on the Viking keys to victory that we talked about prior to the match starting.
Game and first set, Arraya Parsons.
Wow. Well, 6-3. That was. We saw the spark. We saw them get going. And Scott, I know you have to take off, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. But a few parting words before you hit the road back to Pittsburgh.
Well, I think that if Arraya Parsons continue playing at the pace they were and keeping the transition on their terms and with them initiating it, they've got a good chance to be successful, and it'll be interesting to see what adjustments Broderick and McNerney make as we go into a second set here.
All right, well, thanks, and good luck with the Nationals, and we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Thanks. We're excited to have you
Thank
guys
you,
here.
Scott.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages right here on the APTA Network, presented by eNet Live.
I'm pulling give a little bit.
At Amazon, we've got millions of toys and games to choose from this holiday for kids of all ages, with free shipping on over 100 million items. So visit Amazon and give a little love this holiday.
Welcome back to the men's final. We're at the start of the second set. And we'd like to welcome the president of the APTA, Scott Bondurant, into the booth. Thanks, Scott, for joining us.
Thank you.
So we're just going to pick up the score here. They've
I think
played.
it's love 15. I think it was the first point.
Okay.
That's my guess, but it was a great first set by Arraya and Parsons. And it was a lot of what we talked about, Jerry. You know, they did not hit the ball and give McNerney and, Broderick any offensive opportunities back there. So they were few and far between. And that's the shot they got to mostly stay away from. But at least he was backing up when he hit it.
And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with Arraya Parsons' play right now. I mean, they're at a high level, emotionally focused here. And Parsons just hitting that two-handed backhand roller at a pace that McNerney can't use, which is one of the keys that you said. He's looking for that high backhand.
That's a great ball, but yes, the offense comes from Broderick and McNerney, not from waist high. It comes from shoulder high. And if you just, basically, even if you just sort of dump it to them with very little pace, they don't generate as much as some other players. You know, they have their other strengths and skills, which make them a great team, but in terms of backcourt offense, they won't generate as much. So if Arraya and Parsons stay solid, steady, and don't give them much, I really love their chances here.
Yeah, I agree.
Although if I had a partner like Bondurant, I'd take my chances.
Well, speaking of Bondurant, Scott, we got some exciting new initiatives happening. You were down in Florida?
Yeah, well, first off, before I say that, so thank you, Jerry, for orchestrating all of the live stream. It's spectacular. Brad, Patty Hogan, Mark Fischel, all the gang who's done the expert commentary. It's just a super thing, and Enet has done a tremendous job as well. So thank you for everything you do here. It's really a great thing for the APT and the game. So back to a couple of initiatives. So we had really a fantastic event a couple of weeks ago down in Orlando. It was the first ever rackets and paddle sports conference. It was in conjunction with the PGA conference, which is some 40,000 folks, and also the tennis owners and managers conference. So there was really good, huge visibility there. A lot of people got to see the game that hadn't before. We put a court up, Total Platform did a fantastic job there, along with Next Court in putting it up. But what's actually quite interesting is that neither golf nor tennis is growing, and so the club owners are all looking for ways to engage and potentially grow, and they're really looking for these derivative racket sports. And clearly, pickleball is growing like incredibly, but platform tennis is growing. Another game called Pop Tennis is growing, and we put a multi-sport court down, and so you can play platform tennis, you can play pickleball on it, you can play pop tennis, and you can play the under 10 tennis. And so, and I got to tell you, it was a fantastic surface that really played quite well. So, really a neat thing and a potential really nice avenue for growth for us.
And nice to have that exposure at a national level with all the racket sports right there in one place. So thanks to you, Scott, for spearheading that and going down to Florida and getting platform tennis on the map.
Yep, it was actually really a lot of fun, and a lot of folks stepped to the plate and helped out.
Broderick, McNerney.
Brad, you see the change in the body language right there?
Well, it's the first miscommunication, so it's a loose point and a loose game given there to Broderick McNerney, and that's just what they need. So we'll see, and we all know how things can swing sometimes mentally.
Right.
I don't think that's enough to make it swing, but it could be the start of something.
Yeah, it's the first sign of the head and the shoulders drop, and And that's the little things that we know Broderick will pick up on right away. We'll see if the tactics change.
So was that? See, there's close. You know, it's funny now that we just brought up the foot faults. I'm looking more closely here at McNerney as he's coming up and down. It should be noted that the umpires do warn all the participants here. They've been warned, pre-warned of finals. It's so close the way he drops that foot down right beforehand. From your area, Chicago area, Drew Eberle was well known as, like, does he foot fault or does he not foot fault? You know, a great player back in the day who.
And he's striking the ball just before his foot hits.
It's literally like.
It all goes back to a guy named Dr. Detroit, who did the jump serve, the original jump serve, which was really something. So, Jeff Hodges, shout out to you.
And Scott, you know, thanks for all the initiatives that you have introduced this last couple of years, the APTA. It's really, you've spearheaded a lot of wonderful things, and we've seen the growth and new things happening in the game, and it's an exciting time for platform tennis. And
it really is. I mean, the game is doing fantastically well, and you know, we're doing what we can to kind of keep that going. A couple of the initiatives I know got mentioned in Boston, but this whole tennis scores and platform tennis index is just fantastic. I think it's got, you know, real potential for league players to stop for stacking, number one, in terms of league play, which is always an issue. And then, you know, a number and getting a unified league system out there makes a ton of sense. Tennis Scores does a tremendous job, and so I think there's a lot of leagues that are considering, you know, joining the APTA because of that.
That's the first partnership hesitation that we've seen with
that was a great
Broderick
spot there
McNerney.
from Parsons right through the middle. Yeah, that was great to hear about that at the Boston. You know, the tennis score stuff, amazing initiatives.
So good stuff. I'll make one more plug for the National Team Championships. And again, you know, the rank and file league players are really what the game is all about and what the APTA is all about. And to have a chance to play for a national championship with your, you know, local league team is really a neat thing. And we're hoping a lot of folks make it out to Chicago to do that.
Well, thanks so much, Scott. Those are great things to hear about. Pleasure having you in here.
All good. Thank you, guys.
Good,
Scott, we're going to tag team you out, and we're going to bring in the great not even up and coming, the great Blake Anderson.
We're going to say promising junior. I know you're going to say that.
18-year-old national champion at one time, 18 and under, junior national champion. So
Thanks,
Blake,
Blake,
welcome to the booth.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Always one of my favorite tournaments of the year, and I enjoy listening to all your commentary throughout the year, so it's great to finally get in the booth with you, too.
Yeah, thanks. So we're looking forward to having your insights on this match. I know you've been watching. We're in the second set. We're talking about Graham McNerney serving, and we've got a great angle here, and we've decided that he is not foot faulting, even though we've had some texts.
My eyes cannot work that fast. I've been trying to calculate when he lands versus when he. That to me did not look at all like a foot fault.
Right, it's got that little
but
bit
there
of a
have been one or
hang
two
step.
that are so close.
Yeah.
I played against Graham in Boston, Martin Bostrom and I, and to me on the other side of the court, it looks like it is a foot fault, but looking very closely, it actually isn't. And the interesting point is if you watch Juan Arraya serve, sometimes from the deuce side, he does a similar serve to that where his foot comes over the baseline, but you can tell that the ball's struck way before his foot lands.
Right.
I think it's a very popular serve nowadays. Guys are trying to get an advantage coming in, especially with the returner having a lot of advantage nowadays.
Oh, that's great exchange.
Yeah, just getting back to the match. We're now 1-1 in the second set.
My key to watch here, Jerry and Brad, is I would really love to see if Juan can stick to his first set game plan. He really seemed to play within himself, lob down the line, look to set up his partner, and a lot of times when we watch Juan and Mark play, the points can get a little too quick, and I think they really executed well in the first set. So
Yeah,
I'm
it was a
curious to
great
see
job.
if they can continue that game plan.
Yeah, no, just what you're seeing right here. Watch, Arraya dumping the ball down the middle as opposed to slamming it into the side screen, making the ball bounce up high, where we know that's where most of the offense lives for Broderick and McNerney. And they've been doing a great job of it.
They
And as a
have.
consequence, they're getting
Yeah.
the better of the match because they have Broderick, Arraya and Parsons have more backcourt offense, ball to ball from more places on the court than Broderick and McNerney do. At the net, I mean, it's close. I guess I'd give the advantage almost to McNerney and Broderick because both, Parsons is a good volleyer. He's a much better volleyer than people think he is.
Yes, he's a very
not
underrated
an
volleyer.
offensive volleyer, but he's a great volleyer.
But you can see the continued success of the middle ball by Arraya and Parsons, and I think a lot of that attributes to the respect for Drew Broderick in the backhand corner. He's one of the best lobbers in the game, and they're taking that angled lob that Drew does so well from his corner out of the equation.
That's a great cut. Nice get by McNerney. What hands?
Pick up.
But it really looks, Arraya is really playing controlled, consistent, deliberate.
Well, for my money, you have to say Arraya is the best player never to have a national championship.
Right.
And maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year he gets a little more disciplined, a little more controlled, gets to control all the pieces. So Blake, tell us a little about the conditions this morning. It was tough out there, right?
It was tough. We experienced a lot of wind, and the sun definitely played a factor in the morning conditions. It looks like there's a little mental mistake there,
Well, 2 in a
especially
row,
with a
actually.
forehand
2
or
in
a
a row.
backhand from Mark Parsons in the backcourt. Just like that. If it's not right to Juan, I think he needs to let
Parsons hit it from the back.
Parsons hit it from the backcourt. That's where they're strongest.
Yeah, so it was windy and super sunny out there.
Yeah, super sunny and windy, and it took a lot of players' serves out of the match. Me personally, I had to serve into the sun a couple times, and it totally took my serve. I had to kind of bloop it in at one point, and which is, in the grand scheme of things, it's okay, but it really takes those first couple shots away from you.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's not even the serve. It's even if you get in it, it's hard to see the first drive coming at you if you choose to serve and volley. So you're almost relegated to staying back.
Absolutely, and that we're seeing that more and more in today's game of staying back.
Well, you're seeing it anyway, but
There's a
it's
great
taking the
cut by
option out of
Arraya.
it.
30 all.
That's amazing.
But
They
you
hit
can
that-
see he's waiting for his chance.
30-0, 1-0 second set. Arraya Parsons took the first set 6-3.
Oh, great ball there from Broderick. But that's how good Parsons is.
40,
It's a good
30.
move, and you're coming all the way in, but he still puts the ball 1.5 inches over the net. It's not easy to make that volley. It's so funny. I love how Arraya made 2 bad choices in the game. Now you've seen him let all those other balls go through without him reaching.
Parsons went one too many drives there. He needed to throw up a lob and let Arraya get out of there.
Well, I think, too, Arraya needs to notice the blitz from Broderick and McNerney and let Parsons know that would be the ball to throw up. I don't know if he mentioned anything.
I don't think he did. I think in a strange way, this is where your strengths can work against you. I think Araya's
Advantage,
confidence in
Parsons.
Parsons' drive is so great that he'll take his chances, that he's going to win, that he knows he'll lose some of those, but he'll win 58% of them or 60%.
I think you're right. I think he's got
and
tremendous
if that's the
confidence
case,
in that.
that's a good thing. It's a good deal. So you lost another one right there, but he won the other one before when Parsons ripped it, you know. So it's a tough call, and that's the balance for these high-level teams, these decisions they have to make. Oh.
And then it's how they respond if it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
That's the key.
It was one of our keys to winning is your ability to adapt if things aren't going well or your way.
Game.
Oh, 2 loose volley errors right there.
A couple of loose, a few loose points there by Arraya.
We're going to see the cutter from Arraya.
Down 1 set to love.
Yeah, so he hits this first overhead into the backside.
No, I'm good. I only
And
have
it's a
one ball left.
short lob.
I'm changing in 2 games after 2 more games.
That's just awesome.
And that's where Broderick is so good with the low lob when he goes down the line. He avoids
Thank you, Gene, for the
getting
ground
that
footage.
cut shot back. Once it starts to drift towards the middle.
Hang on, we got a drone on the court.
Yeah, I think the issue, that is so funny. I think the issue there is he couldn't control the other ball from Arraya. That is so funny.
Look at that, good catch by Broderick.
All right, it's my drone. I'm sorry. That's interesting.
Here's a first.
This is how much the members of the Short Hills Club, right, Blake? You were.
I was the assistant
here, right?
assistant pro here until recent. Now I'm the director of rackets at the Fairmount Country Club. I still miss my Short Hills members.
15.
Check the body language of Arraya now.
We're seeing some blips here, Jerry, and we're talking on so many things here, but you can see these a little leakage right now out of Ryan Parsons. They're going to have to stop that.
Back with that strategy of going down the middle with their overheads.
Ooh. See, that's the ball that it's not the strength of McNerney and Broderick hitting that drive from an average waist high or lower position. I mean, McNerney can make it, but he'll miss as many as he makes, and he doesn't get as much bang for the buck. It's actually, the more he hits, the better it is for Arraya and Parsons.
Nice spot by McNerney.
Yep. Oh,
15.
this is the
30.
screen drive. Oh, that's.
Oh, what a get.
That's the shot that only Broderick really does. The back flipper. It's not a tweener, but it's a version of it to the side. It's like a side tweener.
We're going to get a replay on that so we can really analyze how exactly he does that.
I just want to know what to call it. But the principle's the same as hitting a tweener, basically. Just off the side of his body, a shot between your legs.
It's a very flexible wrist snap.
Yep. Which can come in handy probably in a lot of parts of your life. All right, so we're getting some reports on the men's open final as well. So first set to Croker and Hume. I believe we're our 5th seeds against Vidal and Green, our 3rd seed, 6 games to 4. So good job for them. I heard from somebody else, Jerry, who played them in the quarterfinals, that they played almost flawless paddle.
Really?
Yeah, literally missed 3 volleys, drove the ball impeccably. So they've always been a very talented team, but I heard they played almost flawless paddle.
And you got to savor those moments, right?
Hey, it's great. Yeah, but that's a team with some talent, and they need to play more, and the more they do it, the better they're going to get, and the closer they're going to get to that level.
See McNerney and Broderick just willing to place those lobs.
You know, they're not going to be able to beat McNerney. They're not going to be able to overpower McNerney and Broderick. So they gotta stay with it, and they've been disciplined so far. If anything, McNerney's missed a few of those drives on the forehand. He's hitting with almost a continental. It's not really his shot, but he's got a shot clock. You know, there are other people out there who even believe that Drew Broderick has a shot clock. That if you outlast him or can stay out there as long as he can, or have his same kind of willpower that he does, that he'll make a silly shot at some point in time. Everyone has a threshold.
So that's one break point serve, save, 30-40.
Now, Blake, you've practiced many, many times with Drew Broderick, correct?
Yes, I do. We're pretty much neighboring clubs, or we've always been, whether I'm at Fairmont or Short Hills. So we get out a fair amount, and I've learned a lot from him, just watching him, but also playing with him. I know he's very, you know, his strategy is very hard to emulate, to not miss, but everybody out here's pretty much doing everything they can to keep that extra ball in play. But we get out a fair amount for practice matches. Mick Arraya is another one we get out with. I wasn't able to see him today, but I heard he had a pretty good day.
Yeah, he played very well.
So Blake, when you say not miss, it's not with a keep alive mindset though. It's an offensive mindset.
Yeah, and the offensive mindset of not missing comes from picking their spots.
Right.
I think, again, we all know Drew to be one of the best at picking his spots, and if you really watch
just hit
them,
like 4 drives,
right? And that's not typically his game, to drive the ball, but when he sees a drive, he makes sure he puts it in the right spot. There's a good lob from McNerney.
Oh.
And Arraya Parsons not in any rush to switch back sides, but McNerney catches Arraya with the spin overhead in that side back screen.
That's a great shot. Deuce. This would be big. 15-40 up for Parsons, or a couple of break points if Broderick and McNerney. I think it could be the kind of game that gets in your head a little bit.
Wow, what a shot.
You know,
that's what's so hard about Arraya, right? It's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see. Here's the problem: you wouldn't say, "What a great choice." I mean, he's flicking a forehand, moving away, but yet he hits a winner on it. So of course it's a great choice. It's an amazing shot that was unsuspected by his opponents.
There's another.
And
that's
going
just
one-on-one with Arraya.
And one in the transition. You do not want to get caught with Arraya in the transition.
That was awesome. Awesome.
Back to 2-all in the second set here. And again, I think we're going to go back to if Arraya and Parsons can continue their strategy of picking on the middle, we might see some continued success here.
Well, they've shown no signs of deviating it from it. The game that, you know, Broderick McNerney won to get the break, it was a really loose game by Arraya Parsons. I don't know that it was just bad choices, it was just loose shots. That's such a great dig.
Now, Brad, what do you think McNerney and Broderick's strategy is in this match? It looks like a lot of balls are moving side to side, and I can't really pick a plan that they have here.
I don't think the plan, perceive any of it as a plan other than to keep hitting sort of low lobs and almost wait and see if Arraya start making mistakes. You know, they don't have a specific plan per se. Oh, that's just incredible. Wow. Those hands up there. I mean,
and the lobs are in the middle. You know,
yep.
They're not opening up the court and moving them around. They're right through the 2 goalposts in the middle.
A little miscommunication at the net there.
You reach for a ball again, but they're they're hitting drives when they see him and driving them, moving them up and back. But I don't see like you were saying, Jerry. It's not like they're going, okay, I'm lobbing this one deep into the middle and moving Parsons back here, and then I'm looking for a shot there. It is none of that. It is we're going to pick away, take what they give us, and if they give us more, we'll take more. And if they don't, we might. I hate to say that they're certainly not thinking they're going to lose, but to me, it looks like they're waiting for the other guys to implode more than they are doing anything to them. But I don't know how you see it, Jerry.
No, it's exactly how I said it. And I don't see Arraya and Parsons. We saw a couple of little dips, but pretty much they're focused, they're deliberate, they're patient.
That's so good from Arraya. But again, bad drive choice necessarily from McNerney. You don't hit off-pace drives to a guy like Arraya when he's on the net.
On the net. I mean, really on the net.
He's on the net. And, you know, it could be. And another level you could say, well, they're not doing anything to do anything specifically to Arraya and Parsons. And it's 15:30 here, and, you know, they're playing a set here that's a lot closer than the first. The first got away from a little. But they're also, McNerney and Broderick, trying to stay inside their skill set. Meaning they're also not reaching too far, meaning if we start trying to do this much more or that or something we don't normally do, we might give them even more points. So they're trying to keep it close in the way I look at it, and hopefully get a few opportunities here and there and capitalize when they come.
Just again, you see that transition play when you're coming in, you get that ball at your feet. It's so hard to just let it go through.
Yeah, that's a good rip there. He got that one.
Let's see, Arraya and Parsons on one little overhead on a big point, deviated from their plan and got stuck.
To up to McNerney, and McNerney hit a down ball. 2
spots that they've gotten in trouble with, and that's to Broderick's forehand out wide and to McNerney's forehand out wide. The middle's been, for the most part, a pretty safe spot
but
for Arraya and Parsons.
Out wide, just high, too. You can't put it up. That's going to be trouble, but he's around the net post. He missed it wide, though. He totally had that one. Yeah, he's not a happy camper.
That's a big point right there, too.
Well, he read it, he had it, but it's not the easiest thing to execute around the net post because you're only hitting the ball about 3 inches off the ground. Oh, that's a great Parsons volley.
Wow.
Nice combination.
I think that was a big game for Arraya Parsons. The break and then the hold, huge. Sort of righted the ship there a little bit. All right, well, we'd love to thank our local sponsors, Club Pilates, Gamberg Custom Shirts, Jag 1 Physical Therapy, Narragansett Brewing Company, Quanta, Smith Chiropractic, Spiro Harrison, and Stretch Labs. You really can't do an event of this magnitude, Jerry, without the help of so many sponsors and so many people behind the scenes. So thank you to all those folks.
And our tournament director, Dennis Collins, and Dave Broderick have done a wonderful job working, and these sponsors have all come through to support. Blake, I believe you know some of the sponsors. It's all from the area?
Yes, I know a bunch of sponsors. Actually, Gamberg Custom Shirts. I actually have my second or third custom shirt next to me in a nice box. I've got to check it out here. And Club Pilates. Club Pilates is the place to go.
Oh, look
to
at
get
that.
If you're getting ready for paddle, Gamberg Custom Shirts. They're the real deal.
Very nice.
But I'm not a big gym guy, but Pilates is something that I really do enjoy, and it's great for paddle.
Love 15.
But again, another big shout out. Again, Dave Broderick, Dennis Collins, they do a fantastic job being, running it firsthand with these guys in years past. I know how much work it is, so they do an awesome job every year. With 7 draws, it can get to be a lot, but they stay level-headed and they do great work here.
Wow. So love 30 here
Love
for
30.
Arraya Parsons.
Yep.
To a great return, followed, a miss there, and then a miss long from
30.
Arraya, so 15-30.
And again, with Arraya, it's not so much that he missed that shot, is how he responds to the next point.
Yep. No, because his errors can come in bunches, Jerry. And there's a Parsons error. And it's actually can be a little bit true of Parsons, too, from time to time. That would be the one thing about when you're playing with so much firepower. Sometimes, you misuse it. It was out, way out. I like that. I like the call confirmation. Don't even ask me. I wasn't even close. That's a smart return from Parsons. Doesn't have his best look, so he wants to make sure he gets it in play. A big point here.
You can see Arraya really doing a great job of lobbing down the line to expose the ball, hopefully over to Parsons' forehand or backhand.
And to create movement, open up the court.
There it is again.
Oh, great roller from Parsons there. Parsons does such a good job of taking basically any ball and driving it. Like, put a little spin on it, still drives it.
I go.
And there's a lot more on the line here, we believe. We're waiting for confirmation from Ray Croster, but if Arraya Parsons win this match, there's a good chance they'll be seeded number 2 at Nationals. So it's not just about winning the Short Hills Invitational. That is big.
Well, I know this is a very important match to Arraya. I think this is his 6th consecutive trip here in the finals, and could be his 7th. And I'm not sure if he's come out on top yet. So I know deep down inside, this really does mean a lot to him.
Well, he's playing with discipline and control, so it's great to see.
And Arraya and Parsons have won the Blanchard Cup, so they're ahead of the leaderboard regardless of what happens this match. So they'll be
great point here.
Crowned at the Nationals during our ceremony.
So that's what's been confirmed, huh?
No, we're waiting.
For
Mark Fischel just wrote me this note before he left, and we were waiting for confirmation. I'm not sure if Ray's watching, he can let us know, but Mark Fischel was doing all the calculations. He's pretty sure.
Well, now my God,
no.
you did not expect to see that.
Broderick,
I think the
McNerney.
bounce took a funny bounce when Broderick one time picked it up. It had a little elliptical spin on it, and it threw Arraya off.
Absolutely. It looked like it spun back, and Arraya had stopped his feet and had to ultimately reach for that ball to hit it.
Holy cow. Shocker. I think that was game, right? 3-3?
Yeah, 3-0.
And there's that spotted lob by Broderick.
Talk about that, Blake.
So Broderick's one of these these guys, you see it a lot now, but especially having his forehand in the corner, he blocks a lot of balls down the line, and he does a great job of varying the height. Usually you see him hit a couple lower to force the net player to make a quick decision just like that and open up a ball.
And by open up a ball, you mean hit the ball down, or what do you mean?
So when Broderick hits his lob down the line and short, it forces the net player to make a quick decision, and usually when they do, it's towards an offensive chance from the baseline.
Right.
Typically, it's not a ball down the middle, safe shot. It goes across the court. Or in Broderick's case, he likes it down up back into his corner so he can hit that spike overhead.
There you go.
All.
15 all.
So Mark Parsons serving 5-all, 3-all in the second set, and this is a
Wow.
big game. Nice gap by Drew Broderick.
Great volley positioning.
Arraya's just so rock solid on those volleys, right? His feet are still. He's square to the angle of the ball. His paddle's quiet, and he just deflects that pace.
And Arraya and Parsons will take that drive from the middle that McNerney just hit.
I take it you mean they want him to hit more of those.
Correct. They want him to hit those. They know that they can cover anything hit from the middle.
Yeah.
It's the ball out wide that's the most trouble to cover.
Not only can they cover it, they also know he's going to miss a percentage of them, and they'll get the others.
Absolutely.
You see that lob down the line by Arraya that you were talking about, Blake, before?
Oh.
I think that's
30
a bigger
all.
part of the game now than ever is the lob down the line.
Mm-hmm.
At all levels.
Oh,
no.
Rare serve misses.
30,
Break
40.
points. A little crack window here. See if Broderick can capitalize.
Game.
How about that?
Broderick,
And
McNerney.
as quickly as that, you had
Bailey,
Arraya
4
Parsons
games
when
to
they were
3,
down
second
before in
set.
this situation, down 2-1.
Down
They
one
strung
set
up
to
2
love.
really good games to get back on top. And then you see the same thing from Broderick McNerney.
And this will be the true test here. Everybody talks about the all-important 7th game. Broderick McNerney are now up 4-3. It will be very interesting to see how Arraya and Parsons handle this 8th game. I think this is a key point, not just in the set, but in the entire match.
Because this set, Broderick McNerney have stayed solid, consistent. It's been Arraya Parsons going up and
A
down.
little more up, down.
Right? So Broderick serving, and you can see again the body language of one. He's just a perfectionist.
Wow, great volley.
And he makes it look so easy when he hits it.
Oh, McNerney stuns
30
Parsons with
love.
the dropper there.
And that takes tremendous touch. I mean, that was up above shoulder high to drop down.
Being colder out helps a little, but
Yeah.
a great shot. Ooh. Oh,
Wow.
That's like the slingshot there. Oh, that was a tough one to make. He tried a
30,
touch volley
50.
from his shoelaces. He would have been wiser to just let it go. At the very least, lob volley it and retreat.
Great spot by Arraya.
See, but I'm not sure why McNerney doesn't call for help and go up the line there. You know, just play it one position, let his partner take the middle.
Especially with the angle the ball came from.
Oh.
Arraya was more straight ahead from McNerney. So typically you're going to have a backside overhead from that position. So regardless of where the ball was going, I agree, Brad. I think the help call should have had there. And there we have a mental mistake on break point to get the match even.
Oh,
wow, what a
wonderful
volley.
Hands. Keep moving forward with his hands up.
Parsons.
So you see them screaming in frustration at the point before and screaming in exultation the point next. It's the classic Arraya.
It's the screaming.
Yeah, the common denominator is screaming, and there you go with a loose miss there.
Arraya,
Couple of strange turns of events in a weird way.
So now, just like we were intrigued to see how Arraya and Parsons would handle that last game, now it totally flips to see how McNerney and Broderick will handle this game. You have to assume Arraya is going to play this game with a lot of confidence.
Well, in a weird way, I'd rather see him play it with a lot of discipline.
Right.
No, strangely, you know, confidence could mean he's going to run around and try to pick off another ball that's out of his reach.
Right, but let's see if they stay with a game plan of hitting those overheads down the middle, not too much pace. Wait for a floater where they could do a little damage. Just be willing to hit a lot of balls.
Oh, Ernie got a little thrown off balance there. That's a great look there from Broderick. Ooh, I thought we'd see a cutter there maybe. I'm actually kind of glad he didn't pull it out.
Right, and that goes right into what you were saying. A lot of discipline not to hit that. I know that's one of his favorite shots. I've unfortunately been on the opposite end of that a lot. And there's a forced ball, Graham moving backwards into the corner.
Yeah, it's not that it wasn't high or to his forehand. He doesn't have an attack angle to it. You want to be moving forward at least a 30, 45 degree angle.
I mean, we're so used to seeing Arraya hit all those cut overheads hard into the side back screen.
Yeah, McNerney definitely pulling the trigger on those forehands, feeling like he's got to hit it, you know, or feeling like he's got to make something happen with that shot. But this is as we talked about, Jerry, before, and our keys to winning, you know. Don't give them balls where they get their offensive shots. And what are they going to hit at you? And then eventually, you know, Parsons or Arraya will eventually get a cut or get something they can do more damage with. Or get a ball on their terms in a better way.
I mean, they really do shrink the court by placing those overheads where they are now down the middle.
Great cover there. Arraya patrolling up there. Oh, that's the danger ball. See? Oh,
wow.
But they get away from it. But there was a, you know, not a good choice there by Arraya. But it works out that Broderick misses a pretty routine, easy volley, but it's always tough.
And points for a 5-4 lead in the second set. Arraya Parsons took the first set 6-3. And
Wow,
they
and I love that hold.
Game, Arraya,
Hold that love, I'm sorry.
It's 11 hold, either way. Like,
long day for me.
By 1 set to love.
A quick shout out too to my partner, Martin Bostrom. He kept me up today. We played very well. and we're both excited to compete at nationals this year.
Well, we're all excited for the new partnership you guys have had, and Mark Fisher called you guys as one of the players to watch to win this tournament. Of course, you cost him a lot of money, but
It might have cost a lot of people some money, but we did run into Johan Duran and Stephen Mitchell, who are playing. They're playing some fantastic
All right.
paddle.
Graham McNerney is serving.
oh, that's a heck of a
And-
return from Arraya.
Love 15.
And
I'm
Arraya looks
saying-
locked in.
It's not going to be a quiet fist pump if Arraya and Parsons win this match.
I think it's a full-out bro hug.
You go ahead. I go. You. Help.
Oh, yeah, good idea to back off there.
No.
Oh,
Great eye there by McNerney.
This is gonna be me.
lower than the net. Not the ball you want to
30,
advance on.
15.
Don't try to finish it too soon. Stay disciplined.
You've got to stay with the plan.
Help, help. You. You.
Oh, great spike there from Arraya.
You. You. Me. You. Me.
Interesting. They're playing Araya's side now. Oh, back to Parsons.
Ooh, seam, but a great get from Arraya.
Me. You. Sorry. You again.
And see, smartly done. They played for that
40,
reason
15.
there. That's the exact reason they're playing Arraya there, to try and bait him into a bad choice, and he made it.
That's a great volley there by McNerney. Down by the shoelaces.
You. You again. You. Help.
Oh, they're definitely going to Arraya here.
Let's go, baby.
Great
Game.
hold.
Broderick, McNerney, 5 games all.
We talk about the discipline. They come up with a first point, great return winner, then a couple of questionable choices in that game.
He is so easy to you see the finish line.
What a get.
So good.
Crowd is screaming, enjoying the great gets.
Oh, and
Wow,
he
good
bodies
spot by
Parsons.
McNerney. And now you can see the crowd's really getting into us. Everybody here wants to see a third set. They're really enjoying this.
Arraya Parsons have to be careful of the speed of play right here, because you can feel the momentum of Broderick McNerney picking up. And like you said, the crowd starting to get into the match.
It seems like to now, the crowd hasn't played much of a factor, even though Broderick's local club is no more than 5 minutes away, which comes to me as a slight surprise. But now I would imagine the crowd's going to start to get a little more into it.
Well, these are really tense moments right now. Wow, McNerney, just a few misses here and there.
30,
It's a
15.
fine line.
I tell you, all 4 guys are digging deep and fighting hard.
Yeah, you see McNerney and Broderick not getting baited into blitzing in. They're staying back. They're staying back. It's dangerous. Yep.
That's the ball we have to be careful of.
You get lulled in.
All.
30 all.
Get away from that overhead going down the middle, and McNerney, when he can move forward like that on a high ball, he's going to hurt you.
You can see the lob from Broderick really set that ball up. Down the line, not enough height.
Oh,
Wow.
so good. And McNerney was there. He just didn't have the room to flick it up. The ball was
30.
so close to the
Come
net.
on, how brave was that? That's guts.
Well, that's
30 all,
Arraya.
5-5 second set.
That's Arraya.
Yep. Whew.
You know, he's all. That's how
Well,
you
big
know
ol'
you
go
all
home.
own the
business,
shot.
Brad.
Yeah, that's how you know you own it. Wow.
Oh, and a little paddle throw here from Graham.
Yeah, but he's got to feel it. He made 3
Arraya
errors in that
Parsons.
game, you know.
They lead
And at
6
least he's
games
trying to
to
keep
5,
himself up
second set
and positive.
by
He's
1
bouncing
set
back
to
and
love.
forth.
What do you guys think here?
What do I think here? I think we're going to a tiebreaker.
Yeah,
But
this,
that
I
just
mean, we're
means that
we're all
you know.
sitting forward, right? We're all like, we're dialed in. This is what is great about paddle. This is on a little seesaw right now. All right, Broderick serving. 5-6. Second set. Arraya Parsons won the first set 6-3. I gotta say, this is a very different second set than we saw the first set.
Well, I think from Arraya Parsons, it's more uneven a set. They've played good points, disciplined, but then they've had pockets of misses, you know, and so they've just, I don't see much different, actually, to be honest, out of McNerney and Broderick. It seems more of the same, except they're getting a few opportunities from Arraya and Parsons, capitalizing when they get them. Nice blitz, and that's not going to be gotten.
I think
Love
you're
15.
spot on with that, Brad.
That's a great call, but the partner's got to call out the blitzer, especially against a quick team like that.
Yep.
Great rip. I think we're going to see them continue to play Arraya here and see if they can get like a 2-error mental breakdown from Arraya or get him to play a loose point. Well,
That's a good ball by Broderick.
yeah.
You just
Held it
can't hit
so
that
well.
shot, right? You just can't hit that type of shot to either one of them.
No. Oh!
Wow.
All right, 15-30.
30.
You know what's so funny here? They're 2 points from the match, and it feels like it could go 7-6 in the third still, you know? 15-40.
15-40.
All right, 2 match points here for
Here we
Arraya
go.
and Parsons.
This is how
This
the
is
first,
when Broderick's
this
at
is-
his best.
This is how the first game started.
Good cut. Oh. Right on the line.
Wow. There it was.
Game,
That was great.
I
That was
told
a
you- I
primal
told you.
scream with a big bro hug.
I told
Come
you it was
on
going
now.
to be a quiet fist pump.
75.
What a final, Jerry and Brad. That was very entertaining, too. 4 of the top players in the country going at it. Nothing better.
And Blake, thanks for joining us and giving us your insight as a player. And I know that you're preparing for the Nationals, so we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks in Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. And thank you to the Short Hills Club for the awesome tournament.
All right, pleasure, Blake. Good to have you.
Brad, thoughts as we wrap up here? What a
Oh,
tournament, huh? What a
that was
day.
a great day,
First of all,
Jerry.
thank you for the Monster Day. Also, thank you to the ENET crew, Brian Panetta, and our producer, Kelly Diesel. That was a huge day. And to all the staff here and the APTA, Shannon Vinson and Ann Sheedy, our executive director, everybody who helped put on this event. But let's just wrap up this match here.
I mean, there's a lot to say about it. We covered a lot of the ground, Jerry. I think the keys to winning in this case were pretty spot on. We saw a disciplined match out of Arraya and Parsons. We saw them dumping the ball down the middle, generally speaking, keeping the ball out of the offensive strike zones for Broderick and McNerney. And we saw McNerney struggle with some balls out of the strike zone, making a few errors here and there, and even Broderick from time to time. And as a consequence, they come away with the victory. I see it as them just having a little more backcourt offense than Broderick and McNerney otherwise, and playing a disciplined match. And Broderick and McNerney couldn't get them to bait them into playing any other style, and they didn't give it away.
And just talk about a disciplined match. I don't think I've seen that look on Arraya's face like that. And Parsons was solid and consistent and came up with the big shots, but they stayed with the game plan, went up a little bit up and down in the second set, but it was a very definite look as they marched towards nationals, and they've won the Blanchard Cup. We're pretty sure they're going to go into second seeds, which feels pretty good.
Oh, that's just even the interesting ramifications of that, because we all know the first seed and the second seed go on the top and bottom of the draw, but the third seed can end up on either side. So if Broderick and Palmer end up being the third seeds, that's quite a curiosity.
Right, well, thanks, Brad, and thanks to Mark Fisher, who had to take off earlier, and Patty Hogan for all your expert commentary. And that is a wrap, delivered by Uline. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for the Nationals in Pittsburgh.